Hey, hey, and welcome to Spiritual Vacancy. We are here to help fill your spiritual void. I am Brooke Ann. I'm a psychic medium and a Reiki practitioner, and my partner in crime is
Whoa, partner, I'm Mona Lee, energy healer, owner of Beautiful Mind in South Carolina. So I'd love to bring the information to the forefront of fellow healers in the world. And I understand our guest here is from Florida and we live in South Carolina. And whenever there is the technology that's available to us, we are really so close, and especially in the energy world, we are right here next to each other. So who do we have the pleasure of meeting today, Brooke?
we have my friend Joyce, who is a psychic medium, and I'm excited to talk to her today and interview her today about her journey into mediumship. And she's also a college professor as well. So she kind of balances all these different things going on with her. Joyce, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Brooke and Mona. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So you live in Florida and you do mediumship part-time.
Yes, I do. I am a full-time college professor at Florida Southwestern State College, go Bucks, where I teach people who are becoming elementary educators. And I do mediumship. There's two local metaphysical stores that I work out of. And then as well as I do home parties where I go and do people arrange 5, 6, 8, 10 people at their house, and I go and do parties there. So yeah, it's quite a little part-time gig.
That's
Mm.
awesome. And I actually met Joyce. I was cooking at a retreat and she was there. It was like a spiritual retreat. And then we kind of clicked and we've kept in touch. And so I'm excited to hear your story into how did you did you always know you were going to be like a teacher or a professor? And then like how did you just start talking to spirit? Like I want to know.
Well, it's kind of interesting actually, because the two kind of go hand in hand in that I've always known things. And I just thought everybody knew things. I didn't know that was special. And the story goes when I was about 4, I was sitting on my grandmother's floor. And of course, there wasn't preschool back then. And they said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I'm going to be a teacher." And so I just announced, not even knowing what a teacher was, that that's what I was going to be. But I've since in my spiritual journey learned that I've been a teacher many lives, and that teachers usually do come back as teachers again, again and again. So that's how I became a teacher. And then I went on to get my graduate degree and my doctorate and became a professor. But my spiritual journey, besides just knowing things, my wife was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2010. And over the next 5 years, she went on a spiritual journey, and she really started understanding how souls live on after death. And it was really important to her that those around her understood that, so that we would all know when she passed that she was still with us. So she was kind of the impetus for me to study further. And actually, after she passed, I looked on Meetup and there was a spiritual development circle. And I was like, let me go see what that's about. And so I went, and kind of the rest is history.
That is incredible. So you knew that you had this gift as a young child, and I love that you were mentioning that you felt like that was totally just what doesn't everybody, feel that when you're a child. And did you find that that was put to rest for a little while as you were growing up and becoming the teacher that you knew that you were meant to be? and then going into the spiritual development. That is so exciting. How did you find that, okay, I am ready, I'm going to be out there, and how'd that work? How'd that work for you?
So I went to the development circle from 2015 to about 2020. And the first, I'll be honest, like the first probably 6 months to a year, I'd be like, where are these people getting these messages? Like, and I would have things coming in, but I think, am I just making this up? Like, what is this? And then I would be brave enough to say it, and people would be going, that's right, that's right, that's right on target. And so I continued to go to development until 2020. And then I went to a retreat with a psychic medium, and she said, why don't you do some readings with me? And so I did some at the retreat. And again, I was scared to death because I was doing it publicly for the first time, but I was on target. People were like, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. So then it was probably several months later, and I was in this metaphysical store in Cape Coral, and my friends had art there. She also sells local artist stuff. And so I just kind of went in with them. And the owner, who is very intuitive and has gifts herself, just like zoomed in on me. And she's like, you have gifts. And I said, well, maybe. And she's like, I've been wanting to get this spiritual Sunday thing back up. It's where people would come in, they'd have little half-hour sessions. I'd love for you to be a practitioner. And so I started doing that. And my grandson, who I believe you will interview on another segment, started going with me and using his gifts. And so we've now branched out to another store, like I said.
That's amazing.
It's quite the clientele. And when you get these clients who come back month after month or months after months, but they come back repeat and they get so much healing from it, you just realize, I can't not do this. I
Right.
can't not do it. When it's providing healing for people, I can't not do it.
Yeah. And do you feel like in turn it kind of helps you heal in your grieving process as well from losing?
Oh, absolutely. It's helped a lot with my grieving. I mean, Mary works alongside of me. She helps me a lot. But yes, it helps me, but it helps me physically as well. I can tell you weeks that I have not felt well, and then I've gone and done spiritual day and I leave and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of divine healing that goes on when you're working with spirit.
Yeah. And you're healing others. So in turn, you're healing yourself in ways we don't even realize that we're doing, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Which is amazing. I know you've touched a lot of people's lives and what you're doing, and you're putting yourself out there. And I love how you were honest about you going into the mediumship circle, like a development circle, because it is scary for the first time. Like it's nerve-wracking, you're really hard on yourself. And like you saying, like, am I making this up, could not be a more real statement for people on their development journey of like, there's no way I would know this. And then it's right.
Right.
And then you trust. And then you're like, wow, okay, I was right. Like it's crazy. You have that aha moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you trying to balance, your career and mediumship because you do both and you are booked out and it does take you time to do sessions and you are popular where you live. And we're hoping that whoever is listening to this right now can still contact her because you do sessions on Zoom as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's awesome. Whoever's listening to get Joyce to do a session for you. And she has a regular job, and I feel like a lot of people at home need to realize that she has a full-time regular job being a college professor and still does mediumship and does it excellent. So for anybody listening, you can do it.
Yes, I love that, Joyce. I love that you had shared that really doing both. And there's so many people who are like, as we are evolving on this planet and more things are happening for our souls that are meant to be, just like how your soul, and I do believe in reincarnation, how your soul was a teacher several lifetimes before. You were also a psychic medium several lifetimes before. And it's such a beautiful thing that you are doing both. And when people are moving into the spiritual world or coming out of that spiritual closet, so to say, what's some advice that you can share with people who are saying, oh my goodness, okay, I am a professor in this life, or I work in a corporate world in this time frame, but then on my weekends, I really love doing this as well. Can you give some advice to people out there who are trying to balance both at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to love what you do. I think you have to love what you do. And I love being a teacher. I always have. I love being a professor. I love my students. But I also love working as a psychic medium and being a healer and interacting with people one-on-one and just seeing them come to peace, you know? And so I think I think you have to not be afraid to be who you are. I think that's another thing. And so there was a time when I kept the two worlds very separate. And so I had my work world and I had my spiritual world, and the two did not cross, right? But slowly I have opened up. And so like I have students who the first semester, when I do the get to know you, that one who right now is getting ready to graduate, I remember in her get to know you post, she wrote that she loved astronomy. And I said, oh, I'm very interested in astronomy too. What sign are you? And so we began a conversation. And then I teach a methods of science course. And so I teach a lot about rocks and crystals. And I talk about the spiritual properties of the crystals and such like that. And, I had a new student just last week. It was our first week of classes. And she looked at me and she said, you're a Cancer, aren't you? And I said, I am. I said, you're in the metaphysical, aren't you? And she said, I am. And I said, you're my kind of people. And so what I'm finding is that as I let the two cross, I'm finding more commonality than I ever expected. And I'm finding people very accepting of it and thirsty for it. People are thirsty for this spirituality. I also do on Tuesday nights, I do a live on Facebook called Wow, Words of Wisdom, where I just kind of talk for 10 minutes on whatever spirit puts on my mind. And then I pull cards for people. And what's really, really cool is in my audience, I have former fourth graders from when I taught in Virginia who are now grown up. I have college students. I have clients that I've met at the store. I have neighbors. I have family. I have friends. And so it's really cool because I'm seeing all my worlds come together. So instead of seeing that they have to be in separate pockets and stay separate, I'm seeing like, actually, there's a beautiful blending.
Did you have any pushback from anybody when you did mix the two and you're like, hey, by the way, I do this as well? Or was everybody pretty loving and open to it?
I don't think I had any pushback, so to speak. I think there was way more acceptance than I expected. I think there are people, I do have some family who are very, very religious. And so this doesn't match with their beliefs. But there's never been any pushback. It's
Good.
just something that, we still love each other.
Good. Okay. They didn't
But we
like,
don't talk a lot about it because we know the beliefs are so different.
yeah, and that's all that matters. Like, as long as you know what I mean, as long as they still accept you for you and they didn't like leave your life forever, you just understand the differences and leave it at that.
Right.
Okay, that's good. I was curious about that. And what is your most favorite part about what you do, about being a psychic medium, or if there's like a certain story that you want to tell about, with a client, or just anything that you would like to share with us?
Hmm. Well, this actually just happened recently, and these are difficult, but also some of the best stories, I think. And I had a gentleman come to see me, and I think because I am a teacher, especially of elementary education, a lot of times I do get children that come through very vividly. And so he was there and I said, I have this little girl and she's just twirling and twirling and twirling like in a cute little dance thing, but she's outside. I said, but then you're throwing her up in the air and catching her. And he just, the tears started streaming. This was his daughter who passed like 15 years ago, I want to say, and at the age of 5. And he's been to multiple mediums and none of them had brought her through. And this was his quest to hear from this little girl. And he said that the night before she passed, she was twirling around. It was the 4th of July, and she was twirling around to the fireworks. But then also the throwing her up and catching her was something that he had done with his brother. They had thrown her back and forth when she was young. So that's one story, just simple, but so it was just so heartwarming to see him and to see that he had been waiting 15 years to hear from her. And to see that happen, you know, was beautiful. And then I did have another one recently as well. A lady lost her father, and she had just, it was recent, like he had only been gone maybe a month. And as he came through, he was very clear, but he just kept saying, there was a problem. I wasn't supposed to die. And he explained everything that they did wrong. And I felt, again, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm supposed to share all this or not, but he feels very emphatic that I'm supposed to. So I did. And she was like, that's just the information we needed. We knew that there was malpractice and we needed to know what went wrong. So that, again, it was like, wow.
Yeah, so healing. And like you even questioning, like, should I say, is this really what I'm hearing? Like, should I say this? But then you gave them something that is priceless, especially with the man. And men, I find, are harder to book a session, or they're more skeptical, or they're, they don't want to be in that vulnerable spot.
Right.
And for you to change his life in ways that you won't even understand, I mean, that's exactly why you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I mean, just as you're sharing these stories, Joyce, oh my goodness, I feel you. It's amazing. I've got just angel bumps all over my body, just feeling the love come out of you of what you're doing and sharing. And I love how you shared with us that, to be really just be real with what you want to be, and giving the advice out there to our listeners of those who are going through the same thing. And now how all of your worlds are coming together. All of the people on Zoom are coming together that you can see from years ago to your family and friends now. And what a beautiful gift that you have, that you are sharing with not only your students and pulling just that like-minded is just growing, isn't it? It's such a blessing, such a blessing. And I'm so grateful that you are a professor and a psychic medium. And it sounds like you've got family also that are in the realm of what we're talking about. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, I would love to know where in the world can people find you then if they want to see you on Zoom and meet up with you, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. Facebook, follow Joyce Rollins. I go live. And it's every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And I invite anybody to stop in and listen to Words of Wisdom, which is free. And if you would like to book an individual session, you can email me at joycerollins23@gmail.com and we'll get you scheduled.
Now, what would be one piece of advice you could give people on their spiritual journey that's just starting out, or maybe confused about which way to go or what to do?
I would say trust spirit. Spirit's never going to let you down. They always have your back, and just trust them. As for finding your own gift, they'll help you. They'll lead you in that right direction. And you can do that through meditation. You can do that through writing. You can do that through, singing, dancing, wherever you get in that place where you're really communicating with spirit. They'll let you know. They'll guide you, and you'll know it's right.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And one last question. Have you ever thought about mentoring? Because you are a teacher.
That's
Have you
right. That's
ever thought
right.
about in the future mentoring mediumship students to guide them in their journey?
I have gotten that question, and I'm actually one of the stores that we work at is just lining up some new things. And so one of the suggestions I had was kind of like a class, a little bit of a spiritual class, but I thought that could lead to something like that down the road. So
I think you would be great at it. Because just even listening to the,
Absolutely.
right? Like the way you talk and you describe
Yes.
stuff and your demeanor is so nice and sweet, and like how you explain things. People need that kind of, gentle guidance, somebody with a soft tone and someone to help them. And you already have that in your career. So it's like just slide it right into the media.
It just makes sense, Miss
it
Just
does.
Joyce. It
saying.
just makes sense.
Just saying.
We're
Right.
lighting our world.
Maybe this is spirit's way of telling me, right?
Yeah,
There
they're
you
like,
go.
remember that conversation you just had, Joyce?
Yep.
Ta-da!
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, you guys go check her out on Facebook. Go watch her Tuesday nights. I need to hop on there some Tuesday night and watch you as well.
Yes.
And go to her email her for a session. Do you care sharing your phone number if they want to text you for a session, or do you just prefer go through email?
You can text me at 703-795-1639.
Perfect. Thank you guys so
Wonderful.
much for listening in. Go check her out, book a session with her. She's amazing. And thank you for being here today, Joyce. We appreciate you. Thank you
Thank you both for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, Joyce.
everybody. Y'all have a beautiful day and namaste. We'll see you next week.
Namaste.